So our next category is fall finale.
And this is our favorite fall finale, right?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Because otherwise, I might.
Otherwise,
Okay, I think I'm gonna get a lot of yells
I think
for
we're gonna
this.
get different ones.
I wrote Once Upon a Time.
Interesting.
I know a lot of people didn't like this season, but I really loved Neverland, and I wanted them to stay there forever.
Then why do you like the finale?
But that's what I was gonna say, because I was really sad about the fact of them, having to go back to Storybrooke, because, there's only so much you can do in Storybrooke, to a degree, because we've seen it, without constantly introducing more characters. What's the conflict? Well, they gave you a conflict, and they gave you a conflict I didn't know was possible, and I found really interesting with the fact that, Emma is the savior, and she's proven she's the savior, and you think that, okay, her job is kind of done, but it's not, because she crossed town lines, she doesn't have her memories, and now she has to, whatever went on in that gap that we didn't see, she's being brought back to save them again without the memories. Like, the first time it was just without the belief, but now she has a false set of memories in her head, and so that is, to me, more complicated than just not believing. And I really like that aspect of this woman who thinks it's not true, but she thinks has this one life, is now going to have to kind of reface these other people, and she's going to have to believe, but she's also going to have to want that more than the fake life that she has. And I talk about this all the time, that those shows, when they do those, like, they're usually standalone episodes where a character will go into a dream world, or a what if scenario,
right,
or fantasy sequence or whatever, like, and it's would I rather stay there even though I know it's not reality but I like it, or should I come back to reality and face up to all my challenges? Like, I love that stuff. Like, I love them testing the characters and seeing what they're made of. So I liked, again, kind of how I chose my twist. I chose it because I like what it sets up for what's to come. I think it's a little bit of a getting back to basics, in the sense of it's like Emma coming into the pilot, but it's on a different scale, because everybody other than Emma knows the relationships and knows how far they've come and what they lost by letting her go. And I don't know, I just also kind of like the idea that they've talked about other worlds that they're still unlocking, and other characters that they're still unlocking, and like how that comes into play now. So I really liked that finale. I chose it because it surprised me. Like, I thought after the way the season was going, I didn't expect them to do something like that, and I liked that they did something like that rather than waited to the end of the season. They've always done it at the end of the seasons, where they kind of take you to a new place, but they did it now mid-season. I really liked it.
They did the same thing last season, where the mid-season thing was basically them coming back. I think
but they came back to the world that they had already known. Like, right, they were reunited.
Right. I don't know. I have very mixed feelings about that finale, that mid-season finale. I think part of it is because they very clearly crafted as a mid-season finale.
Sure.
Because I feel like that arc dragged in places the entire season.
The Neverland arc?
Yeah, it dragged in places it shouldn't have dragged in, because they had to stretch it out the whole arc, 13 episodes. Like, if they had just had 10 episodes and condensed it, I feel like it probably would have been a better overall storytelling. But
I just really liked Neverland.
Neverland was interesting, but I feel like they didn't. I feel like there was a lot of untapped potential there that could have been explored.
Yeah, sure.
That, for various reasons, they didn't.
Well, right.
But no, I think it's an interesting twist to have Emma and Henry without their memories, and what that will do to them. But yeah, it was a very. I go back and forth as to whether I like that finale.
Okay, that's fair enough.
It's. I'm very torn. I like the show overall, but yeah, I'm excited for what's coming. I feel like what's coming is going to be interesting.
Yeah, and I kind of just like that, like, it's a little bit back to basics, in the sense of, even just having Hook show up there, kiss her, and it does nothing. Like, to me, that also represents, well, then, who is the person that can bring her back? Which is something that I talked about early on, and when they were in Neverland, thinking that they were going to go a certain way with her, that they didn't end up going in Neverland. Now they clearly have done it on a different level. Like, she lost herself completely. So who can bring her back? because Henry's right there with her. And, you know, we saw in the first season, it was Henry. It was
Right.
kissing Henry who unlocked the curse, because that was the true love. So what is it now?
Right.
You know? So I don't know. I liked it a lot.
Yeah.
It's magical.
Yes. Or, as, I mean, for Arrow, you know.
Oh,
the
and don't get me
same-
wrong, I
yeah.
didn't, it's not that
No.
I didn't like Arrow.
No, I'm not
Oh.
taking offense.
Okay.
I'm personally, because clearly I am, you know, responsible for acting, writing,
Uh-huh.
directing, doing stunts for Arrow. All of that's me.
It's a little known fact.
Little known fact. I actually masquerade as everyone.
Mm-hmm.
No, I mean, for me with Arrow, it just, I feel like the season has been so steadily solid, and I feel like there was so much potential for so much to go wrong with the Flash episodes, and for the ghost kind of concept to be super, super cheesy and super, super whatever. But I felt like when I watched that hour, and, you know, it was an experience, to be fair, it's not like a normal TV experience, because we watched
Yeah.
it in a theater-like setting, you know.
No,
but it's, for me, it's just like, I felt like it was a really strong episode. A lot of what made the show work well worked in that episode. I feel like with your enjoyment with Once, I feel like I'm so excited to see where this goes, because now that they finally unmasked a couple, literally and figuratively, like they with Slade, that we know
Right,
that,
and-
like, there's so much potential there that officially finding out those reveals, and, you know, with the Malcolm card isn't really that episode, but still, it's
in
still
play.
it's still in play. There's just so much potential there for the rest of the season,
Right.
that just really excites me and makes me happy.
Yeah. Yeah, and I really did like it. I will say I probably would have picked it if it didn't end on a Barry note, because the Barry note is the Flash. It's not Arrow.
Yeah.
So for me,
That was a really cool scene.
it
though.
was
I
a really cool
like
scene,
that
but
scene.
it felt like the thing that happens at the end credits of
yeah.
all those big movies. Like, it didn't. It's for the next thing. It's not for this world, or it's not for this show. So I was kind of like, I wish you would focus more on Arrow and not just for that
No,
that finale, because
no.
that's, you're literally ending your year on a moment that is not your show's moment. So that bummed me a little
See,
bit.
and I will say, for me, I actually kind of like that, because, you know, originally the plan was to have this.
I know.
No. But I was going to say, originally the plan was to have that be the first two of three, and they were going to have the
Yeah.
20th episode.
Yeah, yeah.
And now, because Arrow and Flash are going to be more separate, because Flash is going to have its own pilot, I kind of appreciated that, since if you're going to introduce this character, that was just birds, sorry, and introduce the setup to this thing, if you're going to have us try to invest in this character and in the separate world as well, I like that we got to see it on Arrow. Like, I like that we didn't have to wait until September, or, you know, for us in May. Sorry.
I
That
guess.
sounds humble-braggy. But I kind of like that we got to see that moment and didn't have to, like, wonder, okay, so when is it going to happen? It just got resolved, it was dealt with, and if we see it again, if that series gets picked up, we'll deal with it then. We don't have to wait for, like, you know, whatever amount of time. I liked having that. I feel like if they were going to introduce Barry this way, then you kind of had to have
Oh yeah,
that.
you absolutely had to have that moment.
So
I
it
just
was
wish
fun.
it wasn't the very end moment.
I mean, but the
'Cause-
alternative was
No,
either,
I know, there's
I'll say the alternative was either unmasking Slade as
Yeah, but that's
Or-
still
or-
Arrow's world. I'm not saying it
right,
had to end
or-
on
or-
Arrow or Oliver himself, but
No, no.
something that's staying in this world.
yeah. I mean,
That's my only thing. Or, I mean, this also sounds humble braggy, but having seen the return episode, if that had just been the finale instead, because that's so much about. I just feel it like does your show a disservice when you end an arc on something that you're not going to then pick up immediately. That's why I didn't pick it.
Yeah.
But everything else about the episode was great, and that moment was also great. But I just felt odd for me for a finale.